Okay, let's say a few words here about the mission field, right? Mission field. Okay. Maybe what we'll do is we'll start with a few questions just to get it going. I was a missionary in Germany for 12 years. I was also I was in Ukraine for 1 year. Right after Bible school, I graduated from Bible school. No, I got married in January, graduated in May, and then went on the mission field in August with my wife, and we were just married for a few months. The mission field. I have a couple verses. What do you want, Pastor Schaller? What do you want for what us to say? Or okay. 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 Well, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Okay. I'll ask a few questions, or if you have any questions too. We have. Okay. Okay, I just did a little bit. Yeah.
Was here in Bible college. We met him maybe first time in China. He went as a missionary from his own church. He met Greater Grace. He came here to Bible school. And then he's gone out to the mission field in Ukraine, lived there for a while, and then also Germany. And was part of the church planting work in Berlin, Germany. So, and lived there 10 years. 12 years.
Okay. Well, one thing was sitting in class here. It was like, I think as I was sitting back there tonight is like, could this, this like, it sounds like a bad picture, but could this dead stone, this was my thought, do it again? And like God has the ability to make a stone live, a stone speak, and like put God to the challenge in your life, no matter how dead your heart may be, even towards missions. The Holy Spirit will challenge that here. Just like it was interesting what we went through in class, but it can happen, and it does happen, and well, just to make it two things, I'll say two things. One thing in my life was just to go, and this isn't flattery, but I went with Pastor Schaller to Europe, this Malmo. We had this conference in Malmo, and Ula was there, right? And that was revolutionary in my life. And one reason was, and it's actually the second part, the same thing as in the second part, is I saw like God use a man, and it was Pastor Schaller. And just the teaching and the way it was stirring up in my life, at that time. And we were just sitting there. It was like some little, almost like chapel or building in the middle of a park that Pastor Mati had found. And there was a chalkboard in there, and we had Bible school. We had a few people from Eastern Europe, and it was right when it was starting to open up. And I saw God use a man, and that was amazing. And and then we say, could that be me? And then I always encourage when you came home from the mission field, we were always like ducking in our seats, like afraid, not afraid, but almost like we were always challenged, like that we could go, and like that could be me. And that was that. And then in Ukraine, I saw God use Pastor Chris Moore. I was his assistant, his helper and his friend. And that was my really first mission field with Greater Grace, where we were church planting. I was in China before. It was a little different, but this was after Bible school. And I saw God. I was like one-on-one, like we were together every day. And I saw God do, I think I've shared it in one class before, like what God did in Pastor Chris's life was amazing. Like the wisdom that he had from the pulpit. And like he could preach for 3 hours, and it was like every sentence was fresh, and like I was getting this conviction in my life, and it was I saw it before my eyes, and I saw what God did in the Ukraine, and it's like I was fresh out of Bible school, but and then I got to see this like God take a man and just like give him so much wisdom and so much vision and so much compassion for people, and I was amazed. It was like you could just tell it was a gift. It was like something that I was thinking like, wow, I could never even get that. You know what I mean? I could never get that compassion, that wisdom, that fervor. I could never even get, and it was like a gift to him. And so I'm sure that left an impression in my life, to see that what God did in Pastor Chris's life. And he's young. He was younger than me. He was, in his mid-20s. He had been in Poland already as a missionary. That was. And then God did a great work in people's lives in that country. It was an amazing, fruitful time. Bible school. Wow, you could just feel your mind getting transformed. You could just feel your mind just getting grace orientated, and you're just like dropping weird concepts that you had about God in your life. I remember that. And doing things you didn't think that weren't convenient, like going to prayer meetings and going to raps. Like they were always, they became treasures in our lives. You know what I mean? If we just do what we're supposed to do, we miss out on a lot of treasures in life. And I remember a lot of the raps and the prayer meetings actually became treasures in our lives, because we're learning to lose our life. We're losing our life it's a beautiful principle. Missions in Germany. God was, I don't know, when I left, somehow I thought I would be there for just a couple years, but somehow I thought I would be there forever. We have that feeling on the mission field, like you don't know how long you're going to be there, but and you're giving that to God all the time. And I have a few verses I could share, but maybe somebody has a question or something. Does anybody have I just love that. I was sitting back there tonight, could put God to the challenge and say, could he get this dead stone, that's something that's not moving anywhere, has no ambition or desire or even ability, a dead stone, and could he make it live, into a living stone? I think this is just challenge God in our lives like that. Yes, he can. Yes, he will. And the littlest steps that we take, it's just this. We saw we saw those countries, and and how they were receptive. We can dream dreams about that, and we can believe that God could put me in front of somebody with a team somewhere. Maybe I'm not even the leader. I don't have to be the leader. Like God just wants to take maybe me, maybe my wife and I, maybe a group of us, and like we can dream these things like this, and we can believe that, and we can live like that. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
How did you get to Germany that you decided that was the place to go?
Yeah, I was here for I came back from China. I came back from Ukraine, and I was teaching in the day school, and I was helping in the day school teaching, and then basketball, and then I was also had a sales job. I was just working, spending a lot of time here, and a team was going to Germany. It was actually three different pastors were going. Roger Stenger, Thierry Labar, and Russ Chorowski, and they were planning on going, and then they told me about it, and then talking to people and saying yes, it's a good idea, and those 5 years after I got back from Ukraine, they were you just you're going to go somewhere else. You're just like, this is our life. Like, where else are we going to go? It's a matter, for all of us, it's just a matter of when it should be. You know what I mean? It's not, we're going. It's a commandment, just like when and where, and in what capacity and how. It's not like if I am. This is how, this is our mentality here. And so it was like when and where. This is the way we live, like when and where, God. It's not like, we're not halting between those two opinions. Well, maybe me, maybe not me. It's like all of us are yes and when. And so it was like that, living like that here, and just ministering here, and Acts chapter 13, and just ministering in the body, and then we went. Then we went, and I had been to Germany when I was in college, but I hadn't been there to visit as a mission. But then God, as I was there, God put the people and the love to be there and to know that it's my call and to stay there while I was there. It's not really that substantial in terms of the assurance you have in your heart, God has said this is absolutely true, and it's like you go over there in fear and trembling, and desiring God just to continue to lead you, and that's we're hearers. We're not a hearer, and then we stop. We were hearers. So that's what, and then it grew. Then it grew while we were there, and some of there were some changes in the ministry. I became the pastor, and one thing that that's more like pastoral than it is missions, but stay on missions. Great mission teams, like the smallest member supply, believe, I am a supplier on this team of life, and you don't know what team members mean, and it's just not a missionary going somewhere, and a pastor going somewhere. It's a team, and how the team actually ministers and brings life to a church service. Sometimes, the team is 80% of the people that are at a church service. We had that. Maybe in the beginning it was sometimes 90%. Maybe it was 100% a few times in the very beginning. It was just the team. I think it probably was. And you need a team, and to transfer, to relocate this life, we need a team. So it's when. That's how we're thinking. Yeah, Sean.
So it was China, Ukraine, and then Germany, right?
Yeah.
For you. So it seems you spent significant time in Ukraine and then in Germany.
I was in China. That's where I met, like, kind of introduced to the ministry. Loved the life. I couldn't believe these people like believed. Like that they actually could not believe, but like they applied I was amazed. And then I went to Bible school, and then I was in China for 6 months, and then Ukraine for 9 to 10 months, and then Germany for 12 years. But a break in between Ukraine and Germany. I was here in Baltimore for 5 years.
So like the 10 months you spent in Ukraine and the first 10 months that you spent in Germany,
Yeah.
like if you look back, how was it different for you, like going on a second mission as opposed to first?
Well, that's a good question. Like I said, great things happened in my. It's like there were so many things happening in the ministry in Ukraine. That was an amazing time in the ministry, and just seeing, like, we'd go out and 10 people would get saved, and 12 people would go to the cafe, and you'd see 5 of them in Bible school that night. You know what I mean? It was like and you'd, on a Coke machine, you put a piece of paper up and start sketchboard, and you had 150 people around, and you walk down the street and you just started to pass out tracts, and all of a sudden you're talking to 20 people, and you just went to buy milk. Do you know what I mean? And like that, it was, that's the way it was. It was literally like we'd go in this. I still they had these big wool coats on and these hats, and we were in the middle of the winter. Just it's probably I don't know degree. It's like 10 below or something, and people are just standing out, just like listening to us for an hour speak. And it was like that. One thing when we went to Germany, we had a team, and there were a lot of dynamics on the team, and to sort through all to choose life when you're on the team, and believe the things that you believe when you're here. What are we actually believe that it can work. And we believe we're there before God, and that mercy works and forgiveness works, and not giving an evil report. We believe those things, and we cherish those things. We have convictions about those things, and we use them on the mission field. One thing in Germany was team life. It had very interesting dynamics, and it was actually very helpful for me. And because you saw God's way always worked, and man's way never worked. And we saw that on the team. That was team life. It's like endeavor to keep the unity. And yeah. Okay, that's maybe all I'll say about that now. Yeah.
I would imagine in Germany it's a very fast-paced life, and a lot of people are busy. In thinking about some places where people are working a lot, how did team life work? Do people have to live their life?
How do we minister to people there? That's maybe I'll answer that question. Meet them going to work. I used to meet one guy when he walked his dog in the morning, ride along with another guy when he has his appointments. Do you know what I mean? And he goes in, you just sit in your car, read your Bible or something. You try to be with the people. Those are things that we did. We had a lot of things like like at our house or at other people's houses. We did a lot of that. Like at people's houses, or always doing it, visiting people. Like people love to be visited. It's amazing when you visit a family, and like they can't believe you visit them, and you learn who their children are then, and you see the husband and wife interacting together, and there's like just in that alone is and you learn about them right at their house, and they learn to love to serve you, or I don't know. It's like all of a sudden you have, like, we just visited a lot of people. That was great. I don't know if I'm answering your question. Yeah.
It sounds like to me that over in Germany they was real receptive of the gospel.
They were?
How was it? Yeah. It sounded like they were saying how receptive they sound.
I was talking about Ukraine then.
Oh, okay.
When you were talking.
Well, in Germany, what I wanted to say, how was the opposition?
I think I shared this today at a rap, but just resistance is amazing. Like, praise God for resistance. If you get resistance in your ministry, like, start praising God. This is going to be the richest time you'll ever have in your life, is when you're resisted, or when people resist you, because actually God is going to support you with His mind. You know, like, God is going to show you His mind no matter how much resistance there actually comes. It brings amazing definition and clarity about what God's mind is, and God will comfort you. So resistance was the sweetest fellowship that I ever had in Germany. Was when the resistance came, it's like, you know, how much more grace there was. It was amazing. And the thing is, you could feel it coming, you could expect it, you could believe it's coming. Look at 1 Peter chapter 5. That was one of my favorite verses. And I remember when I found that verse, and when I shared that with my wife and where I was standing. But verse 5, verse 10, but the God of all grace, who has called us into His eternal glory. Like, think of that, eternal glory. God has called us into His eternal glory. It's like His plan, His way, like, you know, His rewards at the end. Like it's all about God. Unto His eternal glory by Jesus Christ, after we have suffered a while. That is amazing. After it's like, you ever been in an earthquake and you hear the earthquake coming, you know it's coming, it's going to shake the ground. It's like you suffer it's like, you know there's fellowship coming. You know there's like this intimacy with God coming. You know, you just expect it. It says, shall make you perfect, establish and strengthen and settle you. Like what more could you ask? If that was your mission field, like what more could you ask for the B part of that verse in life? There's nothing else you'd want. You say, like, wow, I'm like the richest man. We're talking about the riches. I'm the richest man in the world. So that was like, that was the, yes.
After you find out that you've been sent to a particular place, what do you think you should learn about that particular place and prepare yourself for, so you're not blindsided?
About people?
About people, the situation you're going into, the lifestyle. Or it's important thing you should learn about the places you're going before you go to.
You can't learn enough before you go. Like I was so surprised. Like when I after 10 years of living in Germany, I started to love the way they communicate. Maybe in the beginning I thought it was like critical, but I learned to like appreciate it and like see beyond it. And I never could have read that, or I had to be there and go through like failures and go through like me doing the wrong thing at the wrong time to actually learn about how to love people. And to see beyond that. You have to go and just make mistakes. You have to make mistakes, and like I just say, like, choose life. Like, you want life. Like, which one's going to be life? Which one is the right before God? And you're making those decisions on the mission field. And you can't study a culture. I don't think, this is my opinion, you can study a culture enough. There's number one is, there's going to, number 1 through 10 is, there's also demonic warfare that you can never predict once you get there, and the strategies of Satan. Like if you know here how to trust God, like, you have prepared yourself for the mission field, and you're choosing life. And somehow you want to serve, and you believe that as you lose your life, you'll find life. Like, you are preparing yourself for the mission field, for those people, because those people, that's how you prepare yourself for the mission field. You're preparing yourself in the class here, like, and in daily life, we're preparing ourselves for mission field. We are believing that it works, what we're taught. We're foolish enough to believe that this actually will work, and that it does work. What? No, no, but like, yeah, go ahead, Grant.
Like, when you come back from China and Ukraine, what was your prayer and deciding factor to not return to that place and actually seek something else?
China, I went to Bible school, so that was an easy one. Came back from Ukraine, and my wife was pregnant, and I guess that doesn't sound like a good excuse, but it was, at the time, Pastor Stevens told us it wouldn't be a good idea to go back. It was hard for me to accept that, but then I did, and so we didn't go back. And I saw the wisdom in it later, and I was glad that we didn't return. So that was something I saw later. In Germany, I thought maybe a few months before I decided to come home that I was going to be there the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean? But then it was, God has raised up a man. Like, if Pastor Stephan isn't the man, then who is God? And he went to Bible school, and it's like, let's believe that this is the way it is, God, and let's leave by faith. And his wife, like a week after I left, his wife was diagnosed with cancer. And would we have left? It wouldn't have made sense. His wife has cancer. 1 week, and we left, and we were all saying goodbye to each other. And 1 week later, I get a phone call, and his wife has cancer. And God has His wisdom, So that's I don't know if that answers any more questions. I'll just share. Justin?
Is it ever hard to get alone
Alone?
with God?
Oh, alone. That's for money. It's like. Well, I bought a house, and that was pretty difficult. Yeah. Don't think I really want to get alone anymore since that. No, I alone with God. My bicycle was a great time. No, just like you'd leave, just you go to your bedroom and be alone, and just breathe deep and talk to God, and tell him your problems, cry to him, go to the woods and yell. And those are things that we did to be alone with God. And then, sometimes you're alone with God even though you're in the class, right? You're alone and like God is just moving in your life. So, and sometimes we ask God, like, can I just be alone right now? And you kind of purpose to be alone. Maybe we have time for one more question, or else just share, like two, yeah, Evie?
The most important thing you've learned, Pastor, about being disciplined?
Well, maybe I'll share this verse, okay? And then that's what we will end. And I think this was, two things. One thing, like live with a clean conscience, that you're trusting God and that you're choosing life. That was like, you had so much clarity in your mind when you knew you had a clean conscience before God. And if you have a dirty conscience before God, know how to use mercy to get it cleaned up. And that was amazing to fight warfare with it's impossible to fight warfare with a dirty conscience. It's impossible. And with a clean conscience, you can actually lead people with it's very difficult to lead people with a dirty conscience. That was one thing. And then 1 Corinthians chapter 2, I love, like in Germany, I love that. Just maybe speaking about wisdom, verse 6. This amazed me always. Like, his team meetings were always so precious to me. And, and we had just great people on our team. But how we speak wisdom among them that are perfect. And this is, you're going to a church service, say everyone is saved. And I think this never ceases to amaze me that there's a fresh, and you're speaking to mature people. And God would just give you something to feed them. And it would be fresh and it would be new. I was amazed at this verse when I ministered in Germany, that I could have wisdom to give to somebody that's perfect. It's an impossibility. It's a contradiction in itself, right? It's impossible, but because of the wisdom of God, it's like it's so much greater. You always could see like God was always adding to our ministry there, and just sitting down and just ministering to the team. Like God would just give us wisdom, and we would be like corporately like listening, and we would be worshiping God. Just you could tell as we were listening, we'd be worshiping God. And that really blessed me in Germany, that you just like, you can't believe what. And we taught a Revelations class, and I Revelation is right. It's a revelation of Jesus Christ. It's not about the end times. And it's like it was a class about a revelation of Jesus Christ. I'll never forget it. I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? And it's one of those, wisdom among those that are perfect. So God loves to feed people, and we are missionary. Like, what do we say? Like, it's not when, it's a matter of when. It's not am I or is it me? It's just like, it's a matter of when. That's the way we live here. So, okay. Thank you. Thanks for having me.